Well, welcome to Noel's World of Whiskey, and this is going to be my last review for a short while anyways, because I am going under the knife, but up till that point I am trying to keep myself as active as possible. It's always good to stay in good shape before you go in for an operation. But what I've got here is a whiskey that I have never tried, but I have seen it through the years. In fact, this was at one time called Old Fettercairn, and it's now called, of course, Fettercairn. And then I think it went through a period where it was Fettercairn 1824, the year that I believe the distillery started. So, but I remember it as Old Fettercairn, and I remember it in a conversation with a group of guys that asked me if I'd ever tried it. And I had seen it in the liquor stores, and they highly recommended it. Now, this is going back quite a ways. So there weren't a lot of bottlings back then, but for some reason, these guys had tasted it. And one of them was from Scotland, and the other was from Britain. And so I'm certainly had some kind of access to it. So that was my first experience with any kind of knowledge of Fettercairn, was Old Fettercairn. So anyways, here we are. This is a 16-year-old expression. It is bottled at, I believe, 46.4%. We'll have to take a look. Yeah, 46.4%. It's non-chill filtered, and of course no coloring. So that definitely drew my interest. And we're going to go take a look at the bottle. And you can see, I mean, it is a lighter color, and you can see by the bottle there that it doesn't appear to have any coloring in it. So there you are. From Old Fettercairn to Fettercairn 1824 to now just Fettercairn. This is the third release. And new bottles, so same old story with the box. Whyte Mackay. I'm not going to get into it. I've done this a few times. So yeah, we'd like to see that beefed up a bit. But anyways, nice looking box. You know. Okay. Let's open it up. And we're going to do what we have been doing. We're going to pour a dram and let it sit while we go through a short history, which I've already put together. And we will wait for this dram to breathe. So we also like to take a look at it. And I will pour it first, and then we will get the opportunity to of course, take a peek at it. So we'll bring it up and take a peek at it. So we're going to let this sit for a while, and we will get back and we will do the review in 15-20 minutes. See you then.
Sir Alexander Ramsay was a Scottish landowner who campaigned to legalize Scotch whisky distillation, and in 1824 he converted the Nethermill corn mill into a licensed distillery. The knowledgeable illegal whiskey makers that he hired to run the distillery could be the reason for the reputable quality of that whiskey. In 1829, after Alexander Ramsay lost his fortune, he sold the estate to the Gladstone family. John Gladstone was one of the largest slaveholders in the Caribbean. John's son, Prime Minister William Gladstone, certainly benefited from that slavery wealth, but also supported emancipation. He also coincidentally passed reforms to lower the tax on whiskey. You pass through the Fettercairn Arch at the entrance to the town, which was built to commemorate the unannounced visit by Queen Victoria and Prince Albert in 1861. Water from the Grampian Mountains is fed into the old-style copper-top cast iron mash tun, which has a 5-ton capacity. It then fills 11 25,000-liter Oregon pine washbacks, with a fermentation time of 56 hours or more. The 2 lamp glass-shaped wash stills have a capacity of 13,000 liters each. One of the spirit stills holds 13,500 liters, and the other still holds 11,500 liters. They have a unique cooling ring at the top that pours water on the outside surface of the stills. In 1995, stainless steel condensers were replaced to copper condensers. There are 14 traditional clay-floor dunnage warehouses with thick stone walls. They hold 30,000 casks that vary between 200-liter bourbon barrels, 250-liter hogsheads, and 500-liter sherry butts. The Gladstone family sold Fettercairn in 1923 to Ross and Coulter, who mothballed it in 1926. In 1939, Associated Scottish Distillers got it up and running again. And finally, in 1971, Talmontoul Glenlivet purchased Fettercairn, which is today Whyte Mackay. Fettercairn is a highland distillery located at the foot of the Carribean Mountains.
Well, welcome back to Noel's World of Whiskey, and we've had it sit for at least 20 minutes because I got sidetracked and was doing some research. So, 20 minutes in the glass. Let's give it the nose. Almost a Glencadam nose, and coincidentally, Glencadam was one of the few distilleries to get revived because many of the distilleries in the Fettercairn area were shut down, and it was one of those distilleries. There was about 4 or 5 of them got shut down, but Glencadam, of course, was revived. So, but it does have a bit of that Glencadam nose to it. Citrusy, apples, pears. Now, this has been aged in of course, American ex-bourbon oak. It's also been, I think, finished. I think it was more finishing in Oloroso and Pedro Ximenez, and I think it was first fill and second fill. So, but. Getting more of the bourbon cask here. But again, a little bit of some slight leathery notes that you don't usually get with the Glencadam there, except in their 16. It does have a little bit of leather. So we've got the honey coming through. And it's like an alfalfa honey. Yeah, it's started off like a light nose, and it certainly seems to be hitting me a little more now. So, but definitely not as much of the sherry notes. So, anyways, let's try the palate. Slàinte. Well, we're getting almost tropical, more than the sherry. Pineapple. I'm going to say a little bit of chocolate. And definitely the honey. Alfalfa, probably closer to clover honey. And more the white fruit, some of the lighter dark, maybe the lighter colored sultanas and that, but it's a little. It's surprising. I wasn't expecting this, and I'm not disappointed, but it is different, and very slight burn. Let's try her again. Definitely more of an old school presentation. Certainly not one of these engineered distillates. It's more of a traditional taste, but definitely not overpowering with the sherry. Very slight sherry notes I'm getting. I gave it a little bit more of a chew there, and I am getting just a wee bit of the sherry, but the oak is dominating. There are malt notes, granola with that honey, and I'm going to stick with the lighter colored sultanas. You know, they come from the green grapes, but I'm going to give it the finish. To the finish. Well, it is short, medium finish. That's about as far as I've gotten so far. I've been quiet for probably longer than I normally am. Just trying to analyze it. It's definitely old school. Definitely not what I was expecting. I mean, it started off a bit more like a Glencaddam, but it's got a little bit more meat to it than a Glencaddam. And definitely, there are some rough notes, or we'll call them almost a bit of the dirty stuff that came out there. And when I say dirty stuff, dirty whiskeys are whiskeys that are maybe more old school whiskeys, and you're not getting the perfect presentation. It's not certainly not a Glenlivet. I believe the best way to describe this is a little bit of bitter, sour, sweet, even a slight bit of salt. So, and it's balanced, but not a lot of the sherry. Or you know, I was expecting, you know, considering it, you got the Pedro Ximenez and you've got your Oloroso, so I was kind of expecting a little bit of that, but no, I'm getting more the oak cask bourbon, and I'm getting the white fruits. I'm getting, you know, like the apples and the pears, and possibly a little bit of the stewed pears, and maybe some cooked apple, with that you know, slight bit of bitter, and so your bitter, sweet, sour, a little bit of salt. It's kind of a nice balance, and it's different. It's definitely different than what I was expecting. So I don't know if that's what they were trying to achieve. They're trying to get that old school taste. Having never drank Fettercairn before, it's certainly a decent dram. I think we're going to add some water. When you're exploring new whiskeys, you leave yourself quite vulnerable, and I don't want to be a charlatan here and you know come on like I know every whiskey, because this whiskey here I had never had the opportunity to try, even though I heard about it years ago and seen it in liquor stores and that, but never a 16. I've never seen a 16. I've seen the younger ones, the 10s or whatever, but never a 16. So this is certainly different, you know, than what I was expecting. I think I was expecting something, yeah, close to Glencaddam, but maybe a little bit more fruity, more sherry influenced, closer to a Glen Scotia. But That's the interesting thing, and the neat thing about exploring whiskeys, because you, especially if you've never experienced them before, it's an adventure, and you don't know what you're going to get. So, with water, let's try the nose. Back to the leather. I'm going to stay with the Glencadam nose, but with leather. A little bit more punch. Glencadam maybe with a little more punch. And citrusy, even a little bit of mint. Yep, we got some mint going on here. And definitely chocolate in the background there. Okay, the palate with water. And it is 46%, so. The water brought out a little bit more of the dark fruit. So, apples, pears, and some dark fruit, even some prunes. Mint, the oak is there. Still got the malt and the granola. You can definitely take the water. I wasn't super generous with water, but I wasn't shy either. So it has sufficient amount of water, and it, if anything, it lifted a little bit there. So maybe that would be a good suggestion: is make sure you throw a few drops of water in it. Overall, interesting dram. How am I going to score this? It's new. It's different. It's 16 years old. It's 46%. It's non-chill filter. So this is a whiskey I thought I knew when I did the research on it, and even saw some reviews on it. I really figured I knew or had an idea what I was getting into. Naivety, because I didn't. It is definitely a different profile than what I was expecting, even with the reviews I read. So what did I see, or what have I tasted, or what have I nosed? Old school presentation. I have not tried the younger presentation, so maybe it's gone a different direction. I'm not sure what the company is, Whyte Mackay, what direction they've gone with this, other than maybe that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get some credibility, establish this whiskey as a solid whiskey in amongst our connoisseurs as well as the public. I mean, you got to sell it, and we have a lot of critics out there. So my experience with this whiskey is zero, other than I've done a pile of research and I knew about it years ago, just have never experienced it. So lots of babble here, and it really gets down to a score. That's what it gets down to. And please, this is something that I'm going to be honest with you. This is how I see it, my score, and hopefully maybe we'll do another review down the road. But I would say right now I would give it somewhere between an 83 and an 84. That would be, I think, a good, honest score for it. I will post which direction I'm going, 83 or 84. And you know what? That's part of the fun of exploring new whiskeys. So I'm going to ask you to drink wisely, drink intelligently, do not drink and drive. And until the next time, so long.